Hi. I'm sorry for the delay, everyone. We were having some technical difficulties, as seems to be tradition this year. So welcome everybody to our postgraduate talk. Thank you everybody for showing up. We all appreciate it, and we'll just get started.
Thank you. Hello everyone, I'm Connor. I'm a PhD student here in the School of Physics in Trinity, but I also did my undergraduate in theoretical physics and also the Masters in quantum science here. So I'm working in the research group with Alessandro Lunghi there in the picture, and then also underneath is just the confirmation that I am funded by the Irish Research Council, and that's what I'll be talking about. So IRC applications are one of the most simple ways of applying for PhD funding here in Ireland, or what Research Ireland applications maybe, or in a bit of an in-between stage. So for PhD applications in general, it can be a different process between universities and between countries. In Ireland, the IRC application is a way of joining with a professor, coming up with a project, and then applying for funding. So the money that will pay you, finance your research, pay your fees in the university. Whereas you can also have the case of applying to a project directly, so the funding is there and it might be advertised like a job, and then you apply to that and you're accepted by the supervisor to join the project. In other universities or countries, they might have internal funding programs. So you would apply to some advertisement by the university, possibly list the supervisor you want to work with or the topic that interests you, and work through the application that way. But the IRC project funding is quite nice in that you have quite a lot of control over it in picking the supervisor you want to work with, but also having an input into the project you want to do. It's not a project that is being given to you by someone who's already thought of it. Your supervisor could, of course, have input into it, but you can also have your own say on, I like this, or we can focus more on that, and so on. Then also with PhDs, once you're accepted, you can have different requirements beyond just the research aspect, and that can even vary inside the universities themselves. So for me, in the School of Physics, I have to do 10 credits of optional modules for the transfer review in the first 18 months. Then you also have to do teaching requirements, say lab supervision or give tutorials. And you would potentially get paid extra for that anyway, but it's a requirement that you have to do. Other universities might have less of it, more of it, none of it at all. That's just something you might want to be aware of depending on what interests you in a PhD and what you want to dedicate your time to. So in any case, once you look into something, talk to a supervisor, talk to people in their group to understand what it's like working with them or in that university environment, the country as well, as some countries like the US, as you could imagine, are super intense with PhDs, where you work Monday to Friday, 24 hours a day probably. Then your supervisor could do a Zoom call with you on the Saturday to review a paper to publish, and it's very much 7 days a week, whereas other countries will have different working styles and all of that. So these are all different things to be aware of. For the IRC application anyway, the way you apply is quite an early deadline, quite inconvenient for some people actually, but the call officially opens at the end of August, which means they begin accepting submissions from that point. But that doesn't mean you begin working on the application. You can start before then by downloading a Word document that they have on the website and then filling it in with your supervisor and reviewing and going through drafts, coming up with the project, having meetings and so on. And then when you're ready to, in October, you can create the official application, copy and paste everything in, and then submit. So what you get if you are successful, as of right now, it seems to be 22,000 a year, but in the budget there was, I think, a mention of 25,000 a year stipend, so tax-free, straight to your bank account payment. So on the 25,000, we'll wait for it to come true to believe it. But maybe next year, I think usually they start on January payments. Then they pay your full fees, and you also get dedicated research funding. So this won't be too important if you're not, say, an experimentalist buying lab equipment. You can buy a really nice computer, 2 monitors, really nice on the desk. But after that, it really just pays for going to conferences and stuff like that. So the way they are assessed, they actually take inconveniently long, probably, which is a bit typical of an Irish research body. But you submit in October and the middle, and then they read over the application, this outer review board, and they go through it, they leave comments, and they grade it out of 100 basically. Then it reaches February, and they cut some of the applications away that don't meet, say, a certain requirement score, and then they do literally the same thing again until the end of April, but they probably just have the first score to use as a benchmark when they're going through it. And then at the end of April, you would get either accepted with your funding, put on a reserve list for, you might get funding if people that don't accept the offer, free up the space, and then you might be offered it, or you could get turned down. So the structure of the application follows as your just initial details of your name, supervisor, project title, all these basic things. Then you go through your education, so your undergraduate, master's potentially. You can structure it about grades are this. Then you have optional boxes to write about what you do in your degree, highlight key modules, computational work, something special about your grades if you get a gold medal, some stats of it's really difficult to get these grades, or it includes this type of experience, something that highlights this is a difficult degree that I completed this to a high standard, so on. Then you can do extra education if you do online courses, something beyond your standard 4-credit studies. And you can also include research achievements, volunteer experience, so you can include summer projects, which can blend into the work experience as well. There can be quite a lot of overlap in those two sections. And then something volunteering wise, like working for the TPSA and everything you do there, would be definitely important to include, working on these extra academic style projects to enhance physics or do anything like that. After that, you have a personal statement, which requires a bit of soul searching. There's prompt questions of why do you want to do a PhD, what skills do you have, so on. So you really have to talk specifically and in serious detail, not just I'm interested in physics, so I would like to study it more. That's a bit generic. You have to say exactly why you are interested in the PhD, exactly why it would benefit you in your career plans, exactly what you could contribute in terms of building your skills, building research connections, all of this. So you build that. You can link the personal statement and the career development plan. The personal statement is more about you and exactly why you want to do it. The career development plan is more of a technical answer about how it would benefit you in your career. So you would have to say, I am a highly academic person. I aspire to have a research career, either in academia or potentially in industry. The skills I require to do this would be, etc. And then you would talk about, I can go to this conference and meet these people. I can go to this summer school and learn that. I will work on this aspect of my project and improve, my communication skills and group meetings and so on. You can't be, this PhD will involve this and I will benefit my technical skills. What are these technical skills? What are your analytical skills? You really have to dig into the specifics of it. Even if plans might change, you have to show that you've thought about exactly what you're doing and why you are doing it. Then after this, you get to the research proposal part. So this is something you would work on with your supervisor. It shouldn't be something that you are working on entirely on your own. You can write it up yourself, but this would be the main part of the application that your supervisor should have a look at. They can look at the rest as well, but this should be really where they have an input, because they will have a better understanding than you how to construct the project timeline of months 1 to 6, I aim to achieve this. Then months 6 to 9, I do this. Then I publish this paper, or I finish this bit of code and put it on GitHub. Or then I go to this conference and do this, publish in this journal, that they will know all the specific journals they publish in regularly, what is high impact, what to do with data management, what are the big international conferences, what are the smaller ones that are more specific to your project. Now, with a research proposal, it is completely subject to change, and the IRC don't mind that at all. During your project, you might find someone has published a paper about this point, so you're not going to do that. And they're not going to penalize you for you didn't do this specific point in your proposal. But what they just care about in terms of accepting your research is that you have the plan. It can't be, I will work on black holes. Okay, great, you're working on black holes, but what are you doing specifically? What's the problem you want to study? Why are you studying it? What techniques will you use? You might not use one, you might ignore part of the problem, but you have to have shown you have all of that in place. And then after that, you have some extra points to do with ethics, but for physics projects, they're usually fine or maybe extreme, so ignore the extreme end of them. And then, you just have data management, it's all computational stuff that go on Trinity's database or whatever. That's usually okay. So the general tips I would say is when you're ready to start and you have a supervisor who's agreed to work with you, which is typically the easy part, unless the supervisor is really picky or in demand or something, usually you just have a conversation with them and they go, great, I have someone in my group to do research. If this goes through, we'll give it a go. So create a shared Word or Google document with the supervisor, and then you can upload the IRC project template to it. So it has all the questions and everything you have to answer, and just go through that. Then they'll check in whenever, highlight things, leave comments, give feedback. It's okay if they, on the research end, put in some answers themselves. If it's something just generic you can put in, isn't that important. I would say make use of all of the space. So all of the answers will come with a maximum word count. So it's okay to be 100 or so words short, but if for the career plan, for example, that is 1,000 words. If you stop at 400, I would, revise what you've done. So after that, get detailed feedback. At the beginning, don't worry about too much of details or running over the word count or something, because you will revise it, you'll cut things out, you will discuss. It's much better to have really thought in detail about what you are doing and why you are doing it, and running over the word count and having to just fix how you've said it into a more tidy fashion than plan it in too little detail, reach a point where you need more, and then you have to replan at a point that might be a bit too close to the deadline. It's much easier to just rewrite what you're saying in a nice tidy way than to actually, how am I going to say this in any detail at all? Why am I adding this into the application and changing this generic statement to something much more well written and tidy and impactful and useful? And that will really help these scores. So this is how they mark it. So the project you present is 40 of the 100 marks. So this is to show, I will emphasize what is important. So everything in the research section is 40 marks. The applicant, which is you, is another 40 marks. So how suited you are to doing a PhD, your personal statement, everything in your education, your research experience, all of that will build into those 40 marks. So how you have presented yourself to them in terms of someone they want to invest their money into. Then your career plan on its own is 10 marks. So if you are given this money, how will it benefit you on your future career journey into academia or developing transferable skills to do something else? Then after that, the environment is the final 10. So environment just means, oh, I'm doing this in Trinity. How helpful is Trinity in terms of supervising you for your PhD? Why have you chosen your supervisor? If you've worked with them before, put that down. Then I've had success working with them. I've chosen them for this reason. Trinity has in my case, a nice quantum research ecosystem with the development of the Trinity Quantum Alliance. I put that in as a specific thing because it connects academic research to industry, and that benefits me for working in this environment. And that's exactly what you say, and that's why they award 10 of the marks for that. So I think that's everything I have to present. I have time for a couple of questions before we go on to the next section, if anyone has any. You have a PhD position.
Yeah.
You can apply twice. So they have different funding streams as well. So you can apply twice to each before you can't apply again. Yeah.
You said the stipend is tax free. Any word on that changing? Yeah, I think it's tax free. You don't get embarrassed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to stay a stipend. They'll just increase the amount. So what I have seen is in the budget currently, I think the plan is to increase that to 25,000 from next year. Then they might back payment some people. For anyone applying next year, it won't matter. Then allegedly, some political parties that are going for election have said, yes, of course we'll increase it to 28,000 if elected. That is to be seen. But yeah, I'd imagine it would stay tax free anyway. Yeah. Is there another question? All right, yes.
How does the enterprise
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. So another one, the application I've spoken about is the Government of Ireland Postgraduate Scholarship. So this is the generic one, not restricting any type of research fields or external requirements. There is another funding stream called the Government of Ireland Enterprise Scholarship, where you partner with a company to supervise your research. So this can be useful for physicists and a lot of computational physics as well. So it would change in that you would be designated as supervisor from the company. They would fill out part of the supervisor form. In terms of your application, it's structured very similarly, but you actually have less to write. So a lot of the answers would be the same, but the maximum word count will be smaller, which can be useful, but can actually be a hindrance when you want to really show off what you've done. But it's just because I assume if you've got a company partnering with you, they take more for granted in terms of that you're capable of doing it. But yeah, it's very, very similar. I think it has a later deadline, typically November. So you could do both of them. You could do this one first and then transfer over a lot of stuff for that one and just tidy it up again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we know where on the market scheme people fall down?
You, if you get rejected, you find out where you fall down. If you get accepted, you just get your final score. I suppose it's hard to tell. As an applicant, if you're confident you can do well there, I assume environment is one of the easier marks to pick up, as it's not much. And then I suppose if they have faith in Irish institutions, they would give out marks. For projects, I think it can be easy sometimes to lose marks there if you're too vague, going, I want to use quantum algorithms for this. Dig into what algorithms you want to use and really hammer home the details rather than being generic or leaving something subject to change. You would just want to give the details anyway, and then show how impactful it is, your transferable skills, how it can affect other fields and so on. Yeah, so I'd say project is one to definitely focus on a bit. Career plan, that can help, like definitely be specific about people you can be in touch with, how you can be out there in the wider world beyond just working at your desk and build these skills and connections to actually get you a job at the end. Yeah. Yep.
Group marks?
Like it's this outer assessment board. Like I don't think it's the same people all the time. They just have academics that are physicists, I think, but in the outer assessment board are non-experts in relation to your research, or maybe the other way around. And then they mark it based on what they see. Then the inner assessment board is more expertise on your actual research, similar to your field, so they can actually critique what you're doing. And yes, I don't think it's this specific person does this. It's just a larger collection of people. Any more questions? No? Okay.
But anyway, my name is Lauren, and thank you so much for having me this evening. And this evening, I'll be talking to you about the Perimeter Scholars International Programme, or what we call the PSI programme, which I'm completing this year. And it's a programme run by the Perimeter Institute for Theoretical Physics in Canada, and it's also working in conjunction with the University of Waterloo. Okay, so what is PSI? So in a nutshell, it's a brilliant master's program if you like the prospect of researching theoretical physics or mathematical physics. It is definitely the course for you. It's an opportunity, I think, of a lifetime. I'm incredibly privileged to be here. And you'll be researching with some of the best theoretical physicists in the world. You get a chance to talk to them and really get to know them as well and their research. Like it's a very informal atmosphere at PI. So like everybody sits together at lunch or dinner. There's no formalities. Everyone's on a first name basis. So it's plenty of time to chat about research and figure out what you would like to do in the future for your career. Also, course size, very small. There's only 25 students selected internationally, and the flags of all the participants you can see here from this year. But it is great because the professors and the staff really get to know you. They're ready to help. You get a mentor and a PhD buddy who are there to help you with anything, like whether it's personal, whether it's careers related. You get a lot of one-on-one treatment to really kind of set you up for your career and really make the best out of your experience at PI. Now assessment, really nice, no written exams, which is unusual for a master's program. There are no grades because they want to minimize competition, like grade-based competition with students, etc. And I'll talk a little bit about how you're actually assessed later on, but it's highly collaborative and very fast-paced, but it means that you'll be there to learn and just because you want to understand something rather than, just learn for the sake of rote learning for an exam, which I found really nice. Okay, longevity. It's a condensed 10-month program. So I came here in September and I'll be going back. I'll be finishing up in June. And you will obtain a master's in science of physics given to you by the University of Waterloo, and you'll also get your SCI certificate. So that's given to you by Perimeter Institute as well. Also finance, really nice bit. All students, from whatever type of background, nationality, you are offered a full scholarship. And when I say full scholarship, I mean full scholarship. Everything is included, so you have no financial worries or burdens. And I'll talk more about what that includes later on. Okay. Now, like a lot of people might not have heard of the Perimeter Institute, so I'll just go into what is it. It's one of the world's leading research institutions in theoretical physics, also with some mathematical physics departments there as well. It's located in Waterloo in Ontario, Canada, so it's about, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours from Toronto. And the research groups, they're here on the right, they're broken into faculties. So like PI at the moment is quite big in quantum gravity research and quantum information research, because we have another research institution just about 23 minutes walk down the road in quantum information computing, which I'll get into later. So yeah, but again, there's so many faculties that you can really, if you decide to come to Perimeter and you want to apply, there's plenty of areas that you could potentially be interested in. Okay. So after all of that, I'll talk now about the program structure, which is briefly, there's so much going on in the program, but I've narrowed it down to kind of 4 main things, which are the core courses. You've got your elective courses, you've got the winter school and the PSA, all very much focused around research and, trying to build on your curiosity in theoretical physics. So to start off, we have the courses and semester structure. So here's an example of my semester broken down into blocks. So we have 7 core courses that you have to take, and also you have 5 interviews that you have to do, and you have to do at least 5 electives as well. Now these electives are not mandatory; they're very they're just they're there so you can really work on your research interests as well. But as you can probably see in the blocks, they are like, the courses only last 4 weeks. So you're learning a large amount of material in a very, very small amount of time, and much more fast-paced than probably what you're experiencing in Trinity. So it's highly collaborative and a very inclusive learning environment as well. So everybody wants to work together to, I suppose, learn as much as you can in that short time. Now, assessment includes oral interviews. So if you're having your core courses, like your classical physics, your quantum theory course, etc. And they're 30-minute interviews. You basically get a couple of questions before, like a week or 2 beforehand, that you prepare and you present. And it's basically, they're very broad topics, and they're trying to make sure you understand the kind of, I suppose, the global kind of concepts of the course, and it's trying to see whether you understand it. So you're going to have to teach a professor or a faculty member, and you get follow-up questions. But it is pass or fail, again, no grades, which can be appealing for some people. Also, you've got your standard homeworks that, again, completely, you're allowed for collaboration, etc. And you also have tutorials. Now, tutorials at Perimeter are quite unique. Basically, you go into a room with lots of blackboards. That's a theme here at Perimeter. And you're put into random groups. You're given a problem set and you're just asked to solve them in an hour and a half. You've got teaching assistants and lecturers standing by ready to help, but it is really to get you in the groove of, I suppose, problem solving and working together, and to achieve, I suppose, a common goal there. It's quite good in that regard. Now, after the courses and the semester structure here, you've got your winter school, which for me, that's happening in about January or February, and it's a week-long hands-on group research project where you'll be working directly with researchers at the Institute. So you'll also have on-site seasonal activities organized for about an hour or 2 a day, because it'll most likely in Canada be snowing then. And you'll have projects from, I suppose, all of Perimeter's research areas. Like this morning, I did like this networking event with all the sci students, and we were basically assigned into groups, and the researchers basically presented their projects to us, and we were allowed to ask questions and stuff like that. So we'll be picking our courses pretty soon. You'll also get to present your project results. There's a short conference, and another thing here is that it isn't that uncommon for your winter school essay to actually be published, which is another thing about Perimeter as well, that they want to get you published here, and it's not uncommon for essays to get published by sci students here, because again, it's good for applications in the future. So after courses, electives, winter school, you go and do your sci essay, which is a huge part of the degree. So basically, the sci essay is kind of like your master's thesis. So from the winter semester, from September to December, you explore your research interests. So that's what currently I'm doing at the moment, and I'm talking to as many faculty members as possible. So faculty actually kind of want to talk to you, they're excited, or that's what we were told as well. And it really is nice. And basically also you can pick your supervisor and your project. And you can talk with that supervisor to find a specific project that you would really like to, that's really good for your research interest, I suppose, as well. And again, that's defended at the end of the year. The objective is to demonstrate an understanding of a problem at the level of a research paper in a corresponding field. So again, highly targeted at research, whether in academia or industry. Also, I must mention that the sci essay, your thesis supervisor doesn't have to be at Perimeter. It could be at a University of Waterloo or some of the other universities around, or a supervisor at the Institute for Quantum Computing in Waterloo as well. Just as long as it's approved by Perimeter, they really allow you that flexibility as well, which is really nice of the program. Okay, so after all the academic stuff, there is a lot more to Perimeter's atmosphere and the life here. So you really get to experience and be a part of the PI community here. So that includes public talks and colloquia, which colloquia happen every Wednesday, and they can be on a broad range of topics given by people in various research areas around the world, and they're really quite fun. And it's nice to be able to go in and listen to someone in a research area you've maybe never heard of, or like in a topic that you've never really thought of, and it's really, really nice. As well. You've also got some workshops you've got that you could possibly attend, also courses, like for instance, every Saturday, one of the teaching faculty received interest from the sci students to learn more about what research he's doing, but to explain it on a level of what we'd understand, and building up on our knowledge, and he does that. So every Saturday for a couple of hours, we just chat about that, which is, again, really nice. One of the nice aspects here. You've got research faculty office hours. So for all of those different research faculties that I showed beforehand, they all have office hours. It's a chance for you to go and ask questions or to listen to presentations that they give. And yeah, really, really nice. Again, really helps you kind of broaden your horizons in kind of the physics community as well. Which I like. Also, it's not all academia. There's also seasonal events and outings, as you could probably see from the pumpkin me and my friends carved there. That was at PI, we went hiking as well with all of our PhD buddies and our mentors. In the autumn over here, it was really, really lovely. And as well, yeah, I didn't mention it up here, but there are some societies as well, different groups, different sports groups. I'm a part of the orchestra here, and we do concerts. So it's a really nice atmosphere, a really good community to be in. Now, for those of you who are interested in possibly doing a PhD or going into research or opportunities in industry, the Sci program is amazing for putting you on that track and really exploring what you actually want to do in the future. So again, small course signs means that the faculty know you, which is fantastic because they give great advice on your personal statements, your CVs. They have time to look into that one-to-one. Also, where to go as well, and that's not just limited to your lecturers or your mentors. They could be, maybe your supervisor for your master's thesis, or even people in other areas as well. So really, really nice. So also, like this place opens up opportunities for a PhD position if you're applying in the US or Canada, which maybe some of you might be thinking about. I don't know. But again, it's really nice to have the Perimeter Institute email as a contact, because it is a very well-known institute over on this side of the Atlantic. Okay, also I did mention that 23 minutes from PI, it's the Institute for Quantum Computing. So again, world-leading research organization in quantum information studies. So again, if you're interested in quantum computing, might be the place to be for you. And again, faculty members are excited and want to talk to you about possibly staying at PI for your PhD. And normally with the prospect of funding is that if a supervisor agrees to supervise you in, say, Canada, it means that they have the funding. So yeah, like if you can find a supervisor, you can supervise here. It's also a great option. Also, I won't be talking about this much this evening, but Perimeter does offer Sci students already in the program to apply for an extension on this program, so for a 2-year program, and the focus is on industry-based research. So if you've any questions about that, please feel free to drop me an email. But yeah, basically it's kind of the track where you delay your electives for another year and you kind of get to work more on an industry-based research project, or maybe if you want more time to find out what you want to do or want to delay your PhD track, this could also be another option. So again, the program itself is extremely flexible, and it's very much based on the individual needs of each student. So, and there again, all of the faculty are out to, help and support you guys. Now, financial support. It's the Sci Award, technically by the University of Waterloo, and its rough estimated value I've given up there. So full scholarships cover full tuition, accommodation, meals, living stipend, health insurance, both mental and physical, necessary IT equipment and learning materials, travel, winter clothes, PhD applications as well. They cover some of that. So really your needs are met. You seriously do not have to lift a finger while you're here. And they even give you, they even organize travel to and from the airport. They basically help you set up a bank account. They bring people in to do that every year. There's free tea and coffee and everything, smoothies, brownies, everything that you could want, because they really just want you to focus, be able to have that freedom to focus and, I don't know, be curious and enjoy the course. Also, the accommodation, it's the same every year. For Sci students, it's on the University of Waterloo campus. It's 10 minutes down the road from a 10-minute walk through a park to Perimeter. And also there is public transportation available. There's a tram and everything. So it gives you plenty of opportunities to, I suppose, explore outside of the Waterloo region as well. And yeah, I mentioned that there's winter clothes, so there is a supplement if you don't have winter clothes. Canada gets very, very cold, and those winter clothes, if you want to buy them over here, they are subsidized, very much so, by the finance team over here. So again, really, really nice. Also, I didn't mention it on the slides, but I suppose it applies to me, so it might apply to some of you. Their disability support system is incredible as well. And you won't just get kind of health insurance covered just from Perimeter, you'll also get it and different privileges from the University of Waterloo as well. So it covers everything basically. Now, coming to the end, I'll talk a little bit about eligibility. So if you come from an undergraduate degree in physics and theoretical physics or maths. There have been math students from Trinity who have come to PI in the past. You are completely eligible to apply, and it's also free to apply for the program as well. But you should have knowledge in the classical mechanics, electromagnetism, special relativity, quantum mechanics, and statistical physics. So they're the main ones. And yeah, if you meet this criteria, basically you're good to go to apply. Now, I've talked about, I suppose, how wonderful I think the program is, and how lucky I am. There is a little bit of a catch. There is 25 places normally, but the acceptance rate is about 3%. It's a lot of people want to get in, but they do like the quality of degrees from Trinity as well. So you do have a good chance. I wouldn't discourage you from applying at all. So again, main things about the application is that there is no application fee. The deadline is the 1st of February of next year. I've put the apply here link on the slides as well. Now, application materials, you need 3 to 4 letters of recommendations. You need your academic transcript. You need a personal statement, and that is limited at 4,000 characters. But basically, my biggest advice would be to really stress your research interests and, you know, what, like, really focus on that. But also there is another part of the application called research areas not reflected in my statement. So if there are things you felt that were important in your personal statement that you felt you had to leave out, you can put it all in there. And I would encourage you, as I did, I put in every single thing I could think of, whether it was workshops I attended to Trinity, or all the TPSA talks I went to, or like different courses or books I read, anything went in there as well. Also, which is quite unique to, I suppose, the application, or when I was applying for masters, I wasn't asked this in any other course, is that they ask you for a description on quantum theory courses taken. So I think my advice of what I did is I literally copy and pasted every single, like, all the kind of learning outcomes from my quantum theory course I've taken at Trinity by the end of my degree, and I put them in there as well. You also need a CV, but I think that goes without saying. Now, if you get called, you could get called for an interview, which I did, and also if you decide to apply and you get called for an interview, please reach out to me, because I could tell you more about the structure. But I think the goal of the oral interview, if you get through that round, is basically they want to test whether you can explain concept in physics, if you're comfortable presenting about your research interests, and they want to really see that you're passionate as well. Okay, so that's my talk. I hope I covered enough, or I haven't left anything out. But I mean, if there is any questions, yeah, I'm happy to take them if I have a couple of minutes, so that's fine. So if you have any questions about what I want to talk about, I'm happy to answer them. Yeah.
So the microphone isn't working, so if anybody
Thank
does
you.
have any questions, let me know. I'll type them up into to oral. So questions?
Also, my email is there if you need to contact me about anything. If you don't think of a question there, that's also fine.
Nope. Good. Okay.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys for having me, and I suppose I'll sign off and let the next speaker go. But bye.
Yeah, so next up we have Jack that will talk to us about QFSG.
Yeah. Okay. That's close. Oh, yeah. I am an hour after, but I should have been here for the bus. The N11 is closed, but for anyone going from Bray northbound into town. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to talk about QFSG, which I just finished. If I press space for this go, yeah. View. Slash. Okay, yeah. So I'm Jack. How's it going? Good to see you all. I think I recognize a couple of faces here and stuff. So I hope you're all well. Yeah, I'll keep this pretty brief, pretty straightforward. PFSG is quantum fields, strings, and gravity. It's a year-long top masters. It's an MSc course here in Trinity. Would be starting this time, September, I suppose, 2025. There's 3 semesters. 2 of them are taught semesters, 3 modules each, and then there's a summer research semester at the end. Are there many TPs here? Yeah. What a surprise, the TPSA talk. This master's kind of is like about as integrated as you could get with the TP undergrad in Trinity here. So it essentially takes, if you've done the classic lineup of the TP modules in 4th year, the quantum field theories, the different geometries, the gravities, general relativities, this master's just takes that and takes you from undergrad, final year undergrad level, which is kind of master's level really, right up to PhD level in quantum gravity, quantum field theory, high energy theory. Like it's very, very rigorous, academic focused, research focused. So in the first semester, we did path integral quantum field theory with Manya, which was advanced quantum field theory, lattice field theory with Stefan Sint, and then conformal field theory. We had path integral QFT and lattice field theory split 6 weeks and 6 weeks, which wasn't great because conformal field theory in 6 weeks from nothing was like bananas to deal with right at the end of the module, but we said that to them and I think they've adjusted it now. So I think you get maybe 8 weeks of conformal field theory. And conformal field theory is very important for any of the stuff you do in semester 2, any of the gravity stuff, which an awful lot of the academics in the School of Maths are researching in. Tristan, Manuela, Parnachev, they're all doing like holography, celestial holography, that kind of thing, quantum gravity. Conformal field theory is kind of the fundamental field theory that you really need to know. It's very, kind of comes up everywhere. And all throughout any advanced string theory you might end up doing. So in semester 2, we did scattering amplitudes, loop. There's another strong research cohort in Trinity doing work in scattering amplitudes. I think Ruth Brito just got like a 10 million research grant for her group anyway. No, she didn't get 10 million, I don't know. But anyway, point being, I imagine if anyone is interested in scattering amplitudes and QFT, which is quite an interesting topic, it kind of, especially the kind of scattering amplitudes that's going on in Trinity, it's very like mathematical focused. So it's like using string theory, using mathematical theories of like Feynman diagrams, tree diagrams, all that kind of abstract stuff to probe what's going on in amplitudes between like particles, you know. So it's not very particle phenomenology-y, it's not really like CERN super collider-y, it's very mathematical. But it's a massive research area, which it was nice to get that module in semester 2. And Luke is I don't know if anyone knows Luke Corcoran. He's like a young, just finished postdoc. He's a research fellow, so he's really sound, and he kind of gave us a good idea of it. ADS CFT then was a topics in theoretical physics module. It was taught by Parnachev, but it was just ADS CFT, which is essentially like quantum gravity, kind of as quantum gravity as you can get. And then string theory as well was taught by Marius. So it really is. The whole kind of master's is motivated, as I said there, by the problem of quantum gravity, which is where the research focus is in Trinity. Like the School of Maths in Trinity really is a school of theoretical physics. It's kind of almost majority mathematical physicists and theoretical physicists. So they're all working on quantum gravity, holography, scattering amplitudes, all that kind of thing. Also in semester 1 then, there's a reading project, which kind of happens concurrent with your modules. So at the start, about a week or 2 in, you get a list of possible topics from possible supervisors, and then any that you find interesting, any that you might have experience with doing an undergrad research project or you want to learn more about, you can approach the supervisor. It's very informal, I guess. It's quite relaxed. It's very much so like, and that says that on the webpage as well. There's kind of a focus and priority put on your own research interest. Like if you from the get-go, you know, gravity's not really my thing. I want to go like particles, high energy phenomenology. You can seek that out in your reading project. conversely, the other way around, I hadn't done general relativity at undergrad, so I did my reading project in general relativity differential forms to get myself up to speed for when in semester 2 I'd be doing string theory and things, which was no issue at all. Like I said that to Marius said it to, I think, Manya, and then I ended up doing my project with Chow. And that's what I put there, the gravity gauge theory. So some examples of the types of reading projects that were done. Mine was like a duality you can draw between a gravity action as a gauge theory form. So starting with differential forms, building up a bit of theory there, finding it interesting. The Chern-Simons action was what I kind of focused on, and then how you can build a gravity theory around that in 2+1D. So there's just a bit of interesting physics. Yeah, and then a couple others, black holes in higher dimensions, black hole thermodynamics, quark-gluon plasma, that kind of stuff. And then we presented these seminars as like 40 to 50-minute lectures in the second semester. And all through the first semester, we were attending weekly seminars of the same length from people in the school, just faculty members, talking about their research. And then the summer is spent doing a research thesis. In the second semester, you would just approach someone in the School of Maths that you want to do a thesis with and figure out a topic. Kind of by then, it's assumed from your reading project, you would have been reading a lot of research papers. From doing the modules, you're like, it's half and half lecture notes and PDFs that you would find online and research papers and the resources given to you by the lecturers. So by second semester, you'll have a bit of a gauge of what you like, what you don't like, what you'd like to learn about as well. And so then it's just about approaching someone with an idea or having a couple of conversations with a couple of different possible supervisors. Yeah, and trying to figure out a research topic that you'd like to do. For me, I ended up doing it on exotic QCD states. I wanted to learn QCD and we didn't have a specific module in QCD, and it always was like I'd done my undergrad project on Higgs physics, the Higgs mechanism. I like particle theory, I like high energy theory, so I wanted to spend a lot of time kind of formally studying QCD. So I approached Sinead Ryan and did it on exotic QCD states, which in a word is kind of non-conventional bound heavy quark states. And then, yeah, but there was other projects on M theory, holography, that kind of thing. Yeah, so why should I do this master's? The application, if you've done the TP undergrad, is pretty okay. It's a minimum of a 2-1 in a TP physics or maths degree. You need your transcripts to apply, a personal statement as well, and a CV, the kind of send things, and 2 letters of recommendation. I think it says online there maybe is 20 places. There ended up being 8 of us. And it says online it's quite competitive, because it is quite competitive if you're outside of Trinity, just because it's so specialist so soon. But I remember in 4th year asking Sinead Ryan, like, oh, like, will my grades be good? Will I have them like pretty okay now? But this is a tough course, and she kind of was like, you're fine if you've done the undergrad. Like, we know what you've studied. Not in a like, oh yeah, you're guaranteed a place, but it's more like, as I said, this is about as integrated as you can get with a 1-year master's. Also, the personal statement on the what's it called? In the application, I think is that combined with your grades is how they would gauge or how they would award the School of Math scholarship. So I think there was 2 per year. And if you applied before the 15th of April, you were automatically considered for it. And then it's 5,000 euro contribution to your fees, which halves the fees. The fees for the year is just over 10,000 euro. Yeah, prerequisite knowledge, as I said, QFT, general rel, tensor notation, calculus. If you've done the 4th year TP modules and you like them and you're interested by them, then you'll be fine. There's not much focus or time spent programming on industry or career stuff. There's no placements. There's no, like, you know what I mean? I guess what you'd call maybe holistic job industry R&D. Like, you know, you might look at master's courses abroad. They're 2 years and they have research components and they have like seminar stuff and they have group work. This is all very pen and paper research focused. It's like, if you want to get to PhD level in quantum gravity, quantum theory, high energy theory as fast as possible, this will get you there. I guess is kind of that's the lowdown of the kind of reality of the course. So yeah, as I said, the prospects for the masters for PhD, if you know in fourth year that you really like this theory and you want to learn more of it, and you want to do a PhD in it, and you want to contribute to the field, then this will get you there. It gets very advanced very quickly. It's tough. It's Trinity. You get dropped into the deep end and you teach yourself how to swim. And like, you know, it's heavy going, but because it's so small, there's a real like focused atmosphere of learning. There's real like camaraderie between everyone. They're not super strict and super like mean when it comes to grades. The focus is on learning and on exposure to like research level stuff. And if you like put the work in and you apply yourself really well, the grades is going to be okay. There isn't the same like kind of sink or swim that you get in third and fourth year, but it is the same workload that you get in third and fourth year. So yeah, and as I said, it's relaxed with respect to the research topics. There isn't like a huge amount of what you would call, I don't know, bureaucracy is the wrong word, but as in like I came in and I didn't have general relativity and Mario said that's fine, you'll pick it up as you go, there's a reading project element to it. And you're like, you know, you've done the TP undergrad, you're kind of, you're capable of learning this stuff at a high level and you want to learn and you're interested in it. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That's all the slides I have. I just wanted to keep it quick and simple and fairly informative. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what's the assessment like? Are there exams? Are there?
Yes, sorry. Yeah, there are. Yeah, exams every semester. So I think it was a third for first semester exams, second semester exams, and then thesis. So each contributed a third to the grade. And then, yeah, we had an exam in each. There was a mix of continuous assessment to exam. I think, if I remember correctly, every module was 50% CA, 50% exam. And the CA varied between weekly assignments or like 2 assignments. The exams, actually, thank you very much for asking. The exams are 5-hour take home as well. But they weren't a walk in the park. That's definitely not fun to grabbing. Yeah, if anyone has any further questions, you can come up to me after. I can give you my email. You can reach me that way. But yeah, that's all I have. That's all.
Okay. Hi, I'm Rania. I'm from the same year of TP as Jack. We were both class of 2023, and I went straight from that into the other quantum masters. Mine's in the School of Physics. It is more the holistic approach that Jack said that one didn't have. This one definitely does have more programming, more industry kind of things, and it's just like all things quantum put together into the 1-year course. It's listed as having 30 places, but we only had 17 people on our course, plus 2 or 3 like 1 semester abroad kind of people. 10,500 euro. There is a scholarship though. A change on that, actually, I got the Women in STEM scholarship for it that ran for 3 years. They stopped doing it. And now it's a sandbox funded one instead, and it's open to anyone. So good news for a lot of you. The course requirements are a bachelor's degree. It says you need a 2-1, but I don't know how much they care, because from what I heard, anyone that came from TP and applied got in no interview. Anyone from physics, also pretty easy. We had one person from maths and she was interviewed. Maths and computer science or chemistry, if you're a little bit left field, then they'll want to make sure you know what you're talking about. The course director changed during our year. It was John Gould's baby. He got it off the ground, and now it's Felix Binder instead, and he is really, really invested and really nice and like really hands-on with everyone. So a great person to have running the show. Closing date for applications is June, but if you're looking at masters in general, use your Christmas break to do all that kind of stuff, because the applications take time, even though this one's not the craziest. This is our course, Connor's up there. And this is where everyone came from. So was that 5 TPs, another handful of physics from Trinity and abroad, 1 chemist, we have 1 computer scientist who's not in the picture, and 1 mathematician. So you're in good company coming from TP. And this is the timeline. The course application fee is €50, same for all the Trinity courses and a lot of the European ones as well. It's the same application process as Jack's. It's the personal statement, your transcript, your reference letters, your CVs, nothing too crazy in there. The scholarship things are separate though, and that's a whole like personal statement, interview with a panel kind of situation. I applied in April and got my offer pretty quickly after that. And then my more formal interview was for the Microsoft Fund. Then semester 1, September to December, those were the modules, but I'll get into them more in a minute. They're very traditionally taught modules, and it's a small enough class, it's just ourselves. Classes, lectures, 1 tutorial a week, same thing we used to. Semester 1 and 2 both filled up like that. No major projects on the side or anything. That's all saved for the summer project or internship. I never thought too much about doing an internship in industry for it, but a few people jumped on that from the very start and had a great time. Went abroad and did an industry project instead. You still have to submit a report, so I thought it sounded messy to do a job but have to write a research paper out of it when maybe you're not even doing research for your job, but it worked out for them, and they got good grades out of it as well. As for the course, it covers all things quantum. Each module, first semester, second semester, is just hitting on all the different things you could look at from a physics perspective. Along with these, there were some kind of mini modules or guest lectures or a short course on different things. So we touched on AI and machine learning. We got a little bit of tensor network theory, a few things like that aren't on the main list, and they change from year to year depending on who Felix can find to come in and talk about something. So I wouldn't be applying because your heart's set on one of those small bits. They're very changeable. The MSc structure made it a lot easier than undergrad. No written exams, and they contain all the lectures to Monday to Wednesday. You have Thursday and Friday totally to yourself to work, study, do whatever you want. I started teaching in a secondary school on Thursdays and Fridays, and if anyone else does do a part-time master's, or I mean this is a full-time master's, but if you have the time, you can make great money with your degree by the further education route. Look into it. Me and a couple of friends have done it now, and it's a great in-between job coming from TP. A lot of assignments, people that hadn't come from TP, that have come from different universities, were surprised by how much we were piled up with things pretty quickly. I would say it matches second, third year TP in the level workload. No written exams, instead we had oral exams. I'd never done that before. That was nerve-wracking. You go into a room with your professor that taught you all this stuff, and then you kind of teach it back to them, where they answer their questions about it. They give you the whiteboard and the marker and say, okay, write this derivation for me, whatever it is. So a different kind of stressful, but I think it makes you more of a well-rounded, understanding student than problem-solving exams. Oh, sorry, that's not right. Sorry, that's someone else's. This one. Oh yeah, pictures from MSc Live. Pretty similar to undergrad. Lots of library time, lots of notes. Didn't go far from the maths library. We are based in the Fitzgerald building a lot of the time, and we didn't get like a master's room or a place to study, but a lot of the time we could have free reign of the Fitzgerald library, which was nice. I got to do my summer project. So like I said, I didn't do an internship, I did the project, and we had a guest lecturer from the University of Malta just halfway through the second semester. And while he was here, he offered to take on a student or two for a summer project. So I applied and I got it, which meant a fully funded week-long, which became 2 week-long trip to Malta during the summer, and the rest of it working remotely with him. And that's Casper from TP as well. Trinity funded him to go with me. And we had a great time. Coding was much more fun, like cool. And I did loads of other stuff too, and definitely loads of physics. And it was really warm, and physics was more fun in the heat. Um, I don't know if University of Malta is a big name in physics. I would doubt it. The physics department was 3 doors on a hallway, and that's it. It's tiny, but a really good way to spend the summer. They seem to have a good connection with that professor. It's Tony Apparallo. He's an Italian guy. He's really nice, loads of fun, good connection to John Gould. So I assume they'll keep that up, and hopefully that would be an option in the coming years. And then that was graduation. That was pretty quick. The year definitely flew by compared to TP and was overall easier, more sociable, easier to work during the masters, all those kinds of things. So I would recommend it as an easy follow-on from TP, that gets you set up better for an industry type job. Anyone have any questions? I think this is most relevant. Yeah.
How do people know get on in university?
I don't think there were any fails at any point. My oral exam grades were generally worse than my continuous assessment. Like your homeworks were 80s, 90s, and you're only getting 2 1s then in your oral exam. But I don't think I was the best at those. I don't know where that puts me in comparison to others. If Connor's still here, is he? No. Connor got a cash award for getting the top grade overall from this master's course. Cash, yeah. Hundreds of beans, yeah. Yeah. And they also gave out a similar cash award for the best project. They only told us that about halfway through the project, and I was chilling in Malta. So they said that earlier, that might have changed things. Yeah, so I'd say the oral exams are overall easier than written exams because no fail risk, really. Anything else? Cool, okay, thank you.
So, hello everyone. My name is Patrick. I did my undergrad in MMath, doing TP and MMath. So I did not expect for this. So I'm hoping, I guess, as per the slides, here I'm doing the masters in high performance computing. So I was thinking I would give a bit of an idea of why I would choose to do such a degree, and then kind of go through what you'll actually do and the kind of flavor of things that you'll get to do in this degree. What is this? I guess if I was to put it in like a single line, so these slides are going to be a bit more minimal than all of your other beautiful presentations. But the kind of main idea of PhD is you want to, assuming all of you are TP students, you know a bunch of maths through a bunch of physics. Some of that maths you can't do, or well, you can't have solutions for every single analytical expression. You go and you make an algorithm for your problem. You try to code it up on a computer, and a lot of times these problems will get out of hand really quickly, and they'll be slow. And you want to run them quickly enough so that you don't have to wait a few years for your fluid simulation to finish. So I guess what else I can say? What's the next slide? Oh, okay. Yeah. So I guess people are putting lots of money into. I don't really like this. Into masters so far. They like to chat on about top 500 supercomputers in the world. So I felt that I should include at least a picture of one. So I mean, what is this? A bunch of racks, a bunch of different computers stuffed into a cabinet, and then rows and rows, and by probably liquid, some water cooling stuff to make them. Yeah. But either way, I guess nowadays today's best computer is called Frontier or best supercomputer. Exascale means that it can perform 10 to the 18 floating point operating settings. So floating point operations are just, I don't know, one floating point operating, just like an addition. That's a lot said in short. And of course, I mean, during the masters, you're not going to have access here, but you will have access to some HPC systems that I have on campus, and they're pending before learn how to use these kind of things. With some are a bit more minimal, some have some queuing systems that you'll have to learn how to use, so that you can go do similar things in wherever you do your PhD or go into industry or some weird in between. So yeah, what's the next time? So the types of things you learn in this degree. Did I? Let me just have a quick look. So I guess why would you want to do such a master? At least my motivation for it was so in my PhD undergrad, I did a bunch. We did a big competition physics. I'm not sure what undergrad here looks like that big. So I did a bunch of computational physics modules, and I kind of like the programming bit of it and trying to get some mathematical expression on the computer and kind of see some like fluid simulation involved over time, or solving PDEs. That's essentially what fluid problems are, I guess, or even in I guess a lot of people here, a good few people here are researchers are very lattice QPD, the lattice field theory stuff. So those are problems that I want to do on a computer. So I wanted to hopefully develop my programming skills a bit more, so I can do some funny maths that you can't do on paper. So the types of things you learn, in essence, this degree, you'll have a lot less maths than you would expect. Maybe not expect. I mean, it's high performance computing, so you're going to be focusing more on the software side. You're going to learn short how to, in essence, how to program in C, C++. So you'll have two modules, one in C, one in C++, 5 course, 5 credits. And I mean, C, why do you want to learn C? You can make, I mean, as opposed to maybe some of you know how to program in Python, C is so much faster than Python if you write it correctly. So again, you don't want to wait some years for your simulation to finish. You want maybe a few days at most, if you're so ambitious. And then a few other modules focus on writing parallel code. So as I mentioned, your supercomputers are a bunch of individual computers stacked next to each other. And so really, you want to be able to program in such a way that you can use all of these computers in parallel, so alongside. So you have to think slightly differently about writing your algorithms. Instead, usually if you write some like Python code or some really simple, it's the word they use is serialized. So it's just like one step after another. And you don't want to do that when you have I don't know, God knows how many other computers stacked up next to each other. You want to split up these tasks and make them go side by side, and then hopefully you can mush them back together to get your final solution or animation or whatever you're trying to compute. And then you'll also have a bunch of numerical algorithms, numerical methods, classes, like stochastic methods. There's a module, so you learn a bunch of stats and some numerical methods. How can I say more precisely what they do? I guess you learn about how to say what an algorithm is more precisely, more mathematically for the needs of, say, modeling some physics, or in general, some problems. Yeah. So the module content. So for this master's, most of it is going to be like learning the tools you need to. So I guess an important thing I probably should have said, though I don't expect you to necessarily know a whole lot of programming for this course. So if you're coming from TP and you haven't done programming before, that's fine. I think at least from the feel that I'm getting from it is that it's nice to have done some programming before, just so that put into it. If you have some familiarity with Python or something, then you'll be grand. I guess roughly what the modules look like at the moment. So I'm gonna just kind of give you some flavor of high-performance computing software. You learn how to write parallel code, hardware architecture. You learn how computer actually, but on some high level, you learn how a computer works, so you can write code more efficiently. I thought it would be kind of boring, actually, like this module. C programming, C programming, you learn how to write C. So that's fairly just need to explain. High-performance software too. I actually don't know what I learned there, but it's probably more parallel programming methods. Case studies. So I guess let's skip a few numerical methods. That's where you learn how to state algorithms more precisely. What else? And then the case studies. I think that's a kind of module where, it'll be a continuation of numerical methods where you'll deep into more specific examples of maths problems that you can on a computer. Yeah. What else? The seminar series is easy. Web credits. You have it's like a student-run seminar series, so everyone in the module has to, or in the masters has to present one paper a semester. You just talk about it. Lecturers will ask you a few questions, and you have to write a report on it. And that's a year long, I think. So you'll do 2 presentations per year. Yeah, you'll have a 30-credit project as usual for I guess the kind of masters we have here. The kind of projects you can do if you want to maybe like study different than maybe don't look at that. The projects are very varied from like it is example projects that they have given up for us that we can choose if we can't think about anything else to do. There's some in numerical linear algebra, like that. A lot. You could definitely do some lattice field theory stuff if you like. There's a guy who likes computational geometry. It's pretty interesting. Most of the time like video game graphics stuff, or you're meshing things, or I don't know. How to explain it? So in fluid dynamics and computational dynamics, sometimes you might want to say you have a flow field over some terrain, some landscape. You have some wind farms on them that they are might be interested in. Meshing algorithms. If you're using that, it's going to get a bunch of points. You got field data and make it like a surface, I guess, in some sense to compute your solutions for your fluid equations too. I guess what else? Maybe I'm dragging on a bit. So these are compulsory modules. So I guess it's important to note, if you look at the website, stochastic methods is now a compulsory module. That's not shown on their website. So I didn't know that before. I want to do that anyway, but that's kind of funny. What else you can do? So from the optional modules, that's field theory, GPU programming. That's kind of funny. I talked with the guy who teaches that next semester, and he said that he's the only third level, or that at least Trinity offers the only third level institution that offers a GPU programming course, which is kind of funny in Ireland. So that's nice because GPU programming or GPU stuff is becoming increasingly more important for numerical calculation, like machine learning stuff, because well, as is the premise of this master's, make code go faster with everything, and GPUs are very good at that. In essence, what is a GPU? A GPU is an excellent matrix multiplying machine, and a lot of times you can reduce your problems into matrices from solving differential equations to say machine learning training algorithms. Yeah. Entry requirements. Yeah, 2-1. I guess I did rip this out from their course description. So I have a 2-1 minimum. I'm sure if you're good enough, you can probably get around that if they believe in you. And then have a background in your area. So I guess that's important. There is I guess I'm the only TP student that's in this master's this year. So the rest are people. So the people that you get in this course are the types of people varied. There's a bunch of two guys leading my group, so like I said, two guys who did math and economics here. There's people who did computer science. There's people who did applied maths. So very varied types of backgrounds. So that's kind of the key thing that they're looking at. And then deadlines for applications. You got enough time think about it. 31st of July. This I also just took from their website. So I mean, but in essence, what can you do with you go like times 50 position in pretty much anything, because especially if your project if you niche projects to accommodate for that. In some sense, for this degree, you're just learning a bunch of programming skills, like you can do more stuff with your masters. What can I say? I mean, I'm not too sure what else I can say about this. But it's very varied. I mean, as I'm sure you probably know, TP people go into lots of random fields. So that kind of just shows you that if you try hard enough, you can probably get into something funny. And I think that's it. Yeah. So that'll be for me. Any questions? Yep.
Have you done the field theory? Yeah.
The last field theory? I did it. I'm not taking it for credits. I sat in on a few of the lectures just to get a feel, because I have sometimes I did a double major, so I didn't do any kind of field theory stuff. So I was a little bit iffy on my understanding. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, but just let them know, because I was only there for like half. All right, thank you again.
Hello, everybody. I'm Luke. Thank you for having me. Now, I know most of you have been hearing about postgraduate courses, whether that be PhDs or masters. I've done part 3, like the other Luke, so I'm not going to repeat that. Instead, I'm going to talk to you about the wonderful Martingale Foundation, who are very generously paying for my masters, and we shall see what else in the future. Okay, so what is the Martingale Foundation? Okay, that goes forward. Good to know. Well, it's a charitable foundation that provides master's and PhD level funding for UK students and Irish students. Obviously, I'm Irish. I wouldn't be here telling you about this if you couldn't actually use it. Okay, so what is this? So at master's level, they provide a fully funded scholarship to pursue a selection of mathematical science masters across 8 universities in the UK. I will tell you what those are in a second. And at the PhD level, they provide a fully funded PhD for 3 to 4 years with a development program and research stipends. which is great. But I don't know too much about the PhD because I'm doing a master's. So let's focus on the master's stuff. Right. As I mentioned, they are partnered with 8 universities. Now, I think it's 10 now, and I realize I have 10 here and I said 8, but it's actually 10. They're increasing. It's good. They're growing. It means they're successful. So there's Bristol, Cambridge, and there's the rest. And the rest are very good as well, I'm sure. But I'm biased. Cambridge is very good. And I'm not sure who's in the room, whether it be maths or physics or TPs, but these are all great maths universities and great TP universities as well, and physics especially. So I don't know who's in the room, but there's something for everybody here. And part 3 is great, I'm sure, as you know. Right, so these are the partner universities. So once you apply, once you get accepted by a university, what do you actually get? So when you're fully, officially accepted, I know, there's like 3 stages to being accepted. It was a stressful nightmare last year, but once you fully officially get the offer, you get a fully funded scholarship, which means all tuition fees that you would normally pay are waived. All application fees that you will be making to universities are waived, and you get a maintenance stipend in line with the UK PhD level of pay, which is very good. I think it's about £20,000, but it fluctuates depending on inflation. And there's a higher level for London because London is outrageous. And as well as that, you get a £1,000 research stipend. And this is just for a master's, right? This is not even the PhD. This is just for the master's. You can get £1,000 to spend on books. I don't know how many people can buy £1,000 of books. So with lots of over, you can spend it on summer schools, which is what I plan to do. I wouldn't recommend spending it on conferences. You'll get much more out of summer school if that's what you want to do at this stage. Okay, and another very good thing that a lot of scholarships don't have is what's called, well, what Martingale calls the Master's Development Program. So it's a series of communications and public speaking workshops, that kind of stuff, across the year. Some are in person, some are online, but they pay for your travel, so it's fine. It's nice to meet people, and it is very good. As you can tell, public speaking is excellent right now, so it's paying off. And also, very important, academic networking. So they host talks in London and invite speakers, whether it be industry or like academia, and you can talk to them and meet experts and build up a network so you can get a job or PhD next year, hopefully. And then this whole thing culminates in what is called Solve for X. It's like effectively a TPSA hackathon. I think they stole the idea from us, but I won't tell them that. You are invited to, I think, St. John's College, and you are given an industry-related problem provided by an industry expert, and then under the guidance of academics, PhDs, you build a solution for it over a few days, and at the very end, you present your solution. It's very similar to TPSA hackathon. They did steal the idea. I haven't done this yet, but I look forward to it, and hope you do too. Okay. And then on top of that, at the very end, you get a tailored support for applying for PhDs and for the Martingale PhD scholarship. This is obviously only applicable for the master's program, because if you have a PhD program, they won't be telling you how to apply to a PhD. Okay, so that's what you get. How do we get there? 1 second. I talked too quickly. Right, the application. So they ask a bunch of questions. Most of them are yes or no questions. Your date of birth, passport, all these things, qualifying questions. Once you get past all these annoying things, there are 4 main, and these are the 4 main very important questions. The first one is effectively a personal statement, detailing a story of how you've gotten to where you are now. The second is a motivation statement, explaining why you want to go to where you want to go. And the third is it's a research statement, effectively, explaining why you want to pursue a master's in a given area. So, I don't know, I want to do quantum information. It's a very young field, many interesting questions that are still unanswered. There's too many questions for the amount of people that are working in them, so I feel like can make good progress. That kind of stuff they want to hear. And then lastly is an exposition on the research area you want to go into. So you literally just explain it to them, and what you want to get across in this section is your enthusiasm and your passion for the area by telling it in a understandable way. Good luck explaining string theory if that's your interest. Because each of these sections are like 200 words, and that last section is 150 words, so it's very tight. Okay, that's probably the most important part of the application. The next most important part are your references. So it's 2 to 3 references, at least 2, and preferably academic references. If it's a professional one, then that's okay. But they usually like accept professional references in the case of having you having worked outside of you when you're not coming straight from your undergrad. So when you've worked for a few years. But that's okay if that's also not the case. You can just talk to them and see what you can submit. So this is the application. How do you succeed at the application? For this question, I'm just going to upload this to the Martingale website because they have a very detailed information booklet on exactly what they want from every single question. They don't tell you what to say, but they tell you the qualities of answers that they want. And yeah, very useful. Oh, I got a notification. I don't know if that's Artem, but nope, it's Cass. Oh, thanks for the heart, Cass. Love you too. Right. Like I said, detailed breakdown given by Martingale. They can provide very detailed feedback, which is good if you apply to this. Now, you have very limited space to answer these questions, about 200 words each. It's not very much. It might sound like a lot, but 1,000 words for this application is nothing, and you will fill it up very quickly. And you have a lot to say. So you make sure to draft, and give your application to someone else to read to provide feedback, because you need to really hone this down into a very concise piece of advertisement for yourself. Okay, now that's the first stage of getting to Martingale application, which is okay, to be fair. It's fine. The interview stage is also not too intense. It's 1 hour interview online for a master's and 1 hour online in person for PhD. In-person ones will usually be hosted in Edinburgh or London. Doesn't really matter for us because we have to fly anyways if you're coming from Dublin. And they've changed slightly through the year when I've done them, but they're effectively the same. You have a 1 hour interview with an academic, so it could be some professor, not necessarily related to the field that you're working in. And honestly, it's probably a good thing if it's not related to the fields you're interested in, because they can't ask you very complicated questions. That would be terrifying. And then a Martingale Foundation board member. And this interview runs for the first 30-ish, 45 minutes as a general interview. They're asking you about your application and you have to build on what you said in your application. And so be able to speak about anything you mentioned in the application and speak around those areas very well. And then for the last 15, 20 minutes, the academic will come at you with questions about your research area. And though they're not an expert, they will probably have some working knowledge or vague ideas of what your field is about. And in this section, or in this part of the interview, they want you to talk about just about your area. And the purpose of it is to see your enthusiasm and that you're passionate and that you're interested, looking to have fun for a year by going on a master's. Though I don't think that is very likely because it will be a hard master's, most likely. Yes. Okay, now caveats. So I've rambled about Martingale interviews, applications, etc., but haven't told you what you need to be to qualify for this scholarship. So first, and most importantly, is that you need to be able to qualify for home fees in the UK. And this can be through several ways. You can be from the UK. That would be ideal. Northern Ireland included as well. That's not obvious, by the way. Or you can be Irish, have an Irish passport and have studied here for the past 4 years. And there's a few other ways you can qualify, but it's kind of messy. And you can check on gov.ie for that. Well, not gov.ie, UK version of that. And they will be able to tell you whether you qualify or not. So hopefully you do. And if you do, the next qualifier. This scholarship is aimed at students from a disadvantaged background. And there are several ways you can demonstrate that. Obviously, if you're in receipt of SUSI, it's a very easy, very good, easy box to tick that you are qualified for this. I'm not sure on what level of SUSI they expect, but apply anyways and talk to them. And just make it seem like a lot more than it otherwise would be. Just embellish things. No, I'm not saying to lie. No, this is bad, actually. I didn't say that. Just tell them the situation. I'm sure they'll understand. There are also other scholarships that you could be on through for your undergrad. I don't know, depending what country you come from. You could be from the Naughton scholarship. That's still going on. I think that is. And you say that you are paid to. You already got funding, so you're not in receipt of CUSE, and you can just tell them this, and they will likely tick the box. If you can just tell them that you are a disadvantaged background, I don't know, they'll be fine. And then obviously, I don't know how it works for foundation scholars as well. But that you can also just say that you have to have some form of funding for your previous undergrad, effectively. I don't know why I decided to list all these things, but yes, this is important. Okay, once you meet those two important, qualifications, you can probably apply to this, and you will most likely do very well. But bear in mind, the deadline has actually passed as of. Thanks, Sean. My phone needs to be muted. Application date is very early, October 29th, deadline. Don't apply to it the day before, like I did. Terrifying, stressful experience. Apply to it early, because it's going to creep up on you very quickly. And for those who are looking to do masters next year, sorry, the deadline has passed. But next year you can apply and hopefully get an offer. Okay, thank you. Any questions? Sorry, this is too quick. It's hard when you don't have a face to look at. Well, I can see my face in the glass in the background, but it's not quite the same as a proper face. So yes, any questions?
Any questions? Yes, Connor.
Thank you. Oh, it wasn't a
Why
hard
double
cast sent to me.
expose?
It was a picture of me. Lovely. Can you be receiving SUSE only the final year of your degree? I'd say so, yes. And honestly, they don't need to know otherwise. Because I'm pretty sure they just checked my last year of SUSE funding, not their previous years. So yes, let's just pretend you were receiving it fully and they won't ever question it. But yeah, but don't lie. It sounds like I'm trying to tell you to lie, but don't. They will check. You're welcome. Any more questions, please come along. I shall just sit here and awkwardly smile at the cats. Oh yes, I should check actual group chat. When do applications open? I am checking Google Chat Cast. Oh, Google Chat. No, I'm not checking it. I was wondering what the beeping was in the background. This makes sense. Okay. When do applications open? Applications, I think they usually open about September time. They might open earlier, but start of September is when they open. It's when they close that really matters, though, right? You can prepare these things over the summer. The questions will likely be the same. It's probably the most important thing to do is the questions. The rest, all the documents that really matter. And it's not a first come first served basis. They take all the applications and then they start viewing them. Okay. Any more questions? Oh, also one other point. So I mentioned that there were several stages of being accepted. Let me just talk about that for a second, because it's very stressful. For me, it was because I did the interview. Well, I did questions and I got an interview. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll go, I guess. And then I did the interview. 2 weeks later, shockingly quick, I got a phone call with the UK number. I was like, oh, no, this scam call. I was like, hello, who is this? It was them saying I got an offer. And it was very good, very, very heartwarming. But then I got an email saying, here's your conditional offer. I'm like, oh, is this way? The way they word things very lawyery. I guess they get the lawyers to do it, because it's conditioned on you getting a place in a university and them also wanting to fund you for that place, which you likely will get funded for the place you want. But so the way it works is once you get a Martingale offer, conditional offer, you then apply to universities and they pay for you to apply to those universities, which is great. But then you rank the ones you want most, from most to least, submit that to Martingale. Then Martingale waits for all the universities to submit offers. And when they submit offers, they tell Martingale which students they want the most out of the Martingale list of students. And then based on the university's desired students and your desired universities, they place you with the university. Thankfully, I got the one I wanted the most, which is good. But it's also very stressful because it means there's about 3 stages where you're very unsure about what you're doing next year, despite the fact that it's pretty much guaranteed. So yes, don't let that terrify you. And if you have any questions, I will be around next year if you want to ask. All right, any more questions? Wonderful. Hope everyone has a nice sleep. It's quite late now. This has gone on a while. So thank you, Artem, for having us. Thank you, TPSA. It's been lovely coming back. And you're welcome for the tack. I don't think you're LP. Bye-bye. Oh, and also, if you want my email to ask any questions, I'm sure Artem can provide that. So you get in contact. Presumably next year when you want to apply, because it's quite narrow. But yes. One other point. I don't know if people have stressed this already. They probably have. References can be hard to get when you don't know the professor. So if you're in second or third year, just go to lectures. Not to actually learn anything, but that's a good bonus. Just let them know your face by asking questions at the end or something. Because it's very helpful when they're providing references that they know you and will give you priority for the students that they don't know. But yes, I'm sure you've heard this before, but it can be very stressful when you don't know who to apply to. Okay, I'm done now. I'll stop rambling. Thank you. You're welcome. Oh, very good. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, Matthew's texted me. Oh, sent me a voice message. Oh, lovely. Oh, it's applause. Oh, that's good. Bye. I shall go now. Thank you very much.
So, thank you everybody for showing up. This ran on a little longer than expected. So we did have another thing planned, which was a recording from Pratik, who's either is doing or did his master's in maths and physics in Oxford. However, I don't think you people want to be here until 9 p.m., so we will just make that available later, if that's okay with you. So yeah.
Hello everyone. So my name is Pratik, and I was asked to sort of give a small overview of my experience with the MMath program in Oxford. I'm sorry I couldn't be there, but if there's any sort of further questions or particular things that you guys want to know more about, then I'll just say out my email, and you can send me questions, and I can hopefully give some more clarity about things. But yeah, so the email is KISHOREP@tcd.ie. So yeah, okay. So I guess I'll start off with a short background about myself. I was undergrad here in Trinity, and I did theoretical physics as well. After that, I went to Oxford for the master's for the MMath program, and then I'm back here now doing a PhD in mathematics. Okay, so I guess I want to start off with how Oxbridge sort of compares to the US. And the reason I'm doing this is because I feel like funding is one of the main things that people sort of think about when it comes to master's education programs and whatnot. But so I think generally speaking, the US is a little better in terms of funding, because when you get into a graduate program there, it's usually a 5-year program that has sort of a combined master's and a PhD. And when you get into a college there, you're almost guaranteed funding. So that's a good aspect about the US compared to Oxbridge. But the problem with the US is that they seem very cliquey about the people that they take in. Usually they expect you to have, so I'm talking now about the more sort of really good universities in the US, places like Princeton, Stanford, and whatnot. Yeah, they expect you to already have publications, and they also expect you to have a really strong sort of research background. There's also the SATs, not the SATs, sorry, the GREs, I think they're called. Yeah, graduate recording examinations that you also have to take. And usually, though they say on a lot of their sort of pages that it's fine if you don't have it, it's not really fine. So that's one thing. And yeah, also from my experience with talking from professors in Trinity, they seem to be very sort of selective about their applicants. So especially the top ones, it's really hard to sort of get in. But you could sort of try looking at places that are maybe not that good in terms of rankings or whatever, but still do solid research in the topic that you're interested in. And I feel like contacting a professor beforehand and then sort of trying out the US is definitely a better option in terms of funding, because the UK is absolutely messed up, or for like funding opportunities. They say that they have scholarships and whatnot, but usually they are very limited in number. There's probably like 2 scholarships for like 500 applicants, and especially for a master's, it's really worse. So if funding is a concern, then that's probably one option that you might want to think about. But yeah, and then coming to also a brief comment about Oxford versus Cambridge, I guess, is that I don't know if things have changed now, but when I was sort of looking into these programs, I talked to a few professors around in Trinity, and they all suggested that Oxford's a little better, especially for like high energy theoretical physics, which was sort of what I was interested in. Because so the counterpart of the MMath Phys in Cambridge is the Part 3, and from what they told me, this was around like 2 years ago, was that the program's apparently gone a little downhill. Please don't quote me on this, but yeah. But nonetheless, I think if you find like a good professor there who's sort of willing to supervise you through your masters, and sort of you think that the topic that you want to work on has a strong research team there, then definitely go ahead. But also maybe talk to a few professors around here in Trinity so that they can give you a better overview of things. But yeah, and also in terms of the comparison between the two, when I was applying, I don't know if things have changed now, but the structure of the program for the masters is, I think, better in Oxford than it is in Cambridge. And the reason I say this is primarily because the teaching is top tier in both, but it's just that in Cambridge, what they do is you sort of take all your modules. The term structure is also very similar between the two places, but your examinations are sort of all pushed right towards the end in Trinity term. So you'd probably be looking at taking around exams for a good 9 modules, and having to do all of them in sort of one examination period is is obviously a little hard in terms of time management and whatnot. In that regards, I think Oxford's a little better, because what happens in Oxford is you have like 3 terms, and there's a decent gap between each of the terms, and around half the modules, depending on what you choose, are examined right after the first term, which is the Michaelmas term. So you'll probably be looking at examinations around January. So you do like 3 to 4 examinations then, and then the remaining sort of 3 to 4 exams come towards Trinity term. So it's a little better in terms of managing your time, and it definitely eases the exam pressure. So just in that regard, I think structure wise, the MMath Phys is definitely better. And in terms of sort of choosing the modules themselves, so in Oxford, the thing is if you've looked at the page, which you probably have if you're deciding to apply, they list out like, so you have like close to, I think, 50 modules, ranging from like computational fluid dynamics to quantum field theory to string theory and everything. And you're almost completely free to choose any combination of those 50 modules. It's just that you have to take around a certain number of credits so that you qualify to get your degree. But apart from that, there's no sort of restriction whatsoever in the kind of modules that you want to pick. So it means you can sort of really experiment with that. But nonetheless, if you're sort of more inclined and have a chosen sort of area that you want to focus on, then they usually sort of list out like a flavor kind of a thing. So they're like, if you want to do a high energy theory, then these are the these are probably the modules that you want to look at. If you want to do something astro based, then maybe look at these modules and stuff. And usually they're very sort of, you'll have like an information session in the first week, wherein they sort of the professors and sort of the directors of the course and whatnot give you a brief overview of the program, and they sort of stay back and you can ask them further questions. And yeah, they're fairly flexible in terms of what modules you can choose. So if you're somebody who's looking to sort of experiment and get an overview of different kinds of things, then that's definitely a good that Oxford will let you do that. And also you can audit a lot of the courses, so you can just sort of sign up for them, but you don't necessarily have to take the exams for them. So yeah, it's very sort of flexible in terms of the modules you pick itself. So yeah, there's that. And then this is coming back to the funding aspect of things, right? The thing is that the math content with Trinity is very strong, right? You guys are very well sort of set up to go ahead and pursue a master's in any sort of field that has a significant mathematical part to it. So maybe if you're looking into like very sort of mathematical concepts or fields such as like high energy theory, then it might not be as easy to directly get into a DPhil. But if you're looking more into like applications of mathematics in other areas, this could be stuff like mathematical biology or something like engineering based applications of mathematical techniques and stuff. Then usually what happens is if you go to the relevant sites, they offer a fair few DPhil programs. And if you think you have a good sort of background and can maybe, you know, try and bag one of those DPhils directly instead of doing a master's, then that's good, primarily because you're funded then. And even for DPhils, to be fair, the funding situation is pretty bad in the UK. Which is partly the reason I'm here doing a DPhil in, well, the PhD in mathematics. But yeah, nonetheless, it's a good shot, right? You can try to see if for maybe like modules that aren't as mathematically heavy, you could directly try and get into a DPhil. But I know for a fact that they really wouldn't be okay with directly taking you in for a theoretical physics DPhil without a master's, because yeah, you still have to sort of build a lot of the mathematical concepts that are required to start a research program in theoretical physics or high energy theory and stuff. So yeah, if you think you're looking into more application-based things and the requirements on the mathematical side are not that strong, then maybe look at a few of those programs and try and contact the professors and see if they're willing to sort of directly give you a DPhil position without a master's, you know. So that's one thing to look at. Apart from this, all right, sorry. Thanks to my editing skills, I was able to fit this in. So I realized that I forgot to talk about your application to the master's itself for Oxford. So just like a few things I want to mention about that. So I think the application is fairly simple enough to follow, right? There's not, it's not too complicated, but one of the things I definitely suggest that you keep in mind is that when you're applying to these places, right, so they obviously are competitive places. And so if you are applying, then you probably have like the grades required to get in, and maybe even really good grades. But what you need to think about is that even all the other applicants that are going to apply have the exact same grades, so you need to show them something that sort of sets you apart from these applicants. And one way that you can do that, which I think is very, very important and can sort of be the sort of thing that'll, tip you over the fence, is showing how passionate you are about the subject, especially in your personal statements, right? Like, go for it, be as poetic as you can. Talk with a lot of passion about why you want to study theoretical physics. What additional benefit does your passion bring to, if they did accept you, how do you stand out from these other applicants? So definitely talk about that. Also talk with a lot of enthusiasm about the various sort of internships and stuff that you would have done, probably the Hamilton internships, or if you've done some other things, mention as many of those things as you can. Talk about how experience from those can help you sort of do a better job at handling this master's program. And yeah, I guess if I had to condense it in one phrase, don't be afraid to show how passionate you are about the subject. I guess, yeah, there's nothing else to sort of generally say. And I can go further into the MMath Phys in particular. So the MMath Phys stands for Masters in Mathematical and Theoretical Physics. And yeah, I sort of already told you about the kind of modules that are available, that they're fairly flexible in terms of what you can choose. So maybe I'll tell a little about the modules that I did. So like I said, they're divided into 3 terms, and each sort of term you're expected to take around 3 to 4 modules. And if you're going in the high energy path, and when I say high energy, I mean stuff like string theory, CFT, and whatnot, then sort of a rough idea about the modules would be in your first term, you'd be looking at doing stuff like QFT, group theory, and GR. So the good thing about the Trinity program here is that you've already seen these modules, right? You've already seen QFT, you've seen GR, you've seen group theory as well. So that means, at least for the first term, things might not be as intense, right? But nonetheless, these modules sort of approach these topics in a very different way compared to what they do in Trinity, right? In my personal opinion, I feel like Trinity is more focused towards the exam, so it's more about like, oh, how do you solve a particular question, and that's that. But when you go to the program there, though the modules have similar content, the stuff that they examine you is more sort of application based. It's more sort of you need to think about it more than it won't just be a direct question and you just answer it, right? So that might be a little different, but nonetheless, you sort of have a good background to be able to take that on. So that's the first term. The second term, which is the Hillary term, you're usually looking at modules like string theory 1, and then you would do SUSY SUGRA, which stands for supersymmetry and supergravity. And then you probably can also do like conformal field theory, or you do the continuation of QFT, which is advanced QFT. And so those are roughly the modules you do in your Hillary term. And coming to Trinity term, you would have string theory 2, conformal field theory 2, and other programs that you can, other modules that you can sort of pick based on what your interests are. But yeah, now going more to sort of the content of these modules, you can be assured that they're really good modules which cover sort of almost everything in fairly good detail, but they are intensive, and not so much because of the content of the modules themselves, but because of the way that the terms are structured. So they're very sort of strict 8-week terms, right? And you usually have around 3 hours of lectures per module per week, and the content is a lot for each module, and they go through it fairly quickly. and given that you're taking 3 to 4 modules, and you'll also have like a dissertation to do, so that means that you're going to find yourself a little stretched time wise. So you're going to have to be really good at managing your time to be able to sort of deal with that pressure, but it's not undoable. So that's good. But yeah, and then sort of going into, I guess, now the dissertation itself. So this is quite an important aspect of the program, because I think a lot of people sort of go into these master's programs, obviously with well, not everyone, but most of you, I'd say, would want to go ahead and do a DPhil, and that means that. So a thing to think about is that if you get into these programs, right, this is like a 9-month program, which means that if you're looking for a DPhil after that, you literally have to send your application in the second you start the program, because usually in the US for DPhils, or even around Europe, roughly speaking, the deadlines are around Jan. So, and the program in Oxford starts pretty late. It only starts around mid-October, which means you hardly have like 2 months to send out applications. That being said, one of the main things about DPhil applications is that, sure, you're doing a master's, right? They want that, but what they also want is a very good dissertation that's research intensive. And what I mean by that is, I guess at an undergrad level, it's still fine to sort of maybe just do a brief literature review of a topic that you're interested in, and that would be considered a good bachelor's dissertation. But for a DPhil, when you're applying for a DPhil, your master's dissertation, I think, holds the largest sort of impact on whether you get that DPhil or not. And usually these places are expecting you to do a master's dissertation, which has a fair bit of original content, in the sense that somewhere where you don't necessarily discover new theorems, but have original results, So you can't just do a very brief literature review or something like that and expect to sort of have a strong application for a DPhil. So that's something you have to think about. And the reason I say this is because you'll only start your dissertation or even like choosing the topic and sort of the person that you work with in Oxford, maybe around after like 1.5 months that you get into the program. And by the time you're sending in your DPhil applications, you haven't done any research, right? You don't have like a solid dissertation to talk about, which means that your application is not as strong. And this is where like programs around Europe may be a little more attractive if your end goal is to sort of get a DPhil, because the programs in Europe and other places, I think, are 2 years, roughly speaking, which means that you get a lot more time to sort of explore the dissertation topic that you're interested in, which means that by the time you send out your applications, if it's a 2-year program, you've done a fair bit work on your dissertation, you're able to make a better application. You'd also have sort of a letter from your supervisor, and that is also of paramount importance when you're looking at DPhil applications, right? Your supervisor's sort of recommendation letter is very important. And so you might want to think about this a little, because, yeah, like I said, you would have hardly started doing your research by the time you have to send out your DPhil applications if you choose the Oxford or the Cambridge program, which means that you might not make as strong an application. And especially if you're looking to do a DPhil in Oxford, then they're extremely particular about the applicants they take in. They need them to have a solid research background, and ideally probably have done something with like original results and stuff, like I said. And they almost tell you this within the first few weeks of going in there. They're like, don't be under the misconception that just because you're doing a master's in Oxford, this does not necessarily guarantee you a DPhil. If anything, it's the contrary. So yeah, if you want to do a DPhil in Oxford, funnily enough, it's not a good idea maybe to do the master's program in Oxford for the reasons I've just mentioned. But yeah, nonetheless, you could always sort of start emailing your professors right now, maybe work through the project a little during the summer, and build yourself a stronger application to have better luck with the applications there. So that's one thing. And then it again goes back to the funding aspect of things. And to be fair, the funding situation is much better for a DPhil program in Oxford. But even then, like I said, it's overall pretty bad. So yeah, these are just a few things to think about if funding is a concern for you, and also looking at future steps in terms of what after the masters, right? So that's one thing. Also, in terms of the dissertation itself, right? You usually expected. So, like I said, when you're applying for DPhils, the recommendation letter of your professor is extremely, extremely important. And also, sort of the dissertation itself that you do is important. Now, Oxford, while it is really good, the problem is the professors there are extremely busy people, right? Naturally, because they're some of the top researchers in their respective fields. And so, because they're that busy, usually what happens is all these sort of master's dissertation supervisions are sent out to postdocs and people who are not full-fledged professors, you know? That means that, I mean, it's not a bad thing necessarily, but just know that it's not very easy to be able to get yourself a professor who will supervise you for your master's dissertation, right? Which means you're going to end up working with a postdoc, and that might not be as good for a DPhil application. And this is just a very minute thing, but it's something to remember, because it's a thing that I faced as well when I was there. So just want to mention it. But yeah, so you'll likely find yourself doing your dissertation with the postdoc, but rest assured that they are extremely good in what they do as well. And that, in fact, like doing it with the postdoc might be a little better, because one, they have more time to sort of supervise you on your dissertation, and two, because they're sort of closer to your level of experience, they might be able to explain things better, you know, because they understand what students go through when they're doing their dissertations and whatnot, and they might be able to help you in terms of applications and stuff as well. So there's obviously many good aspects to it, but also, yeah. So for example, like if you were doing the master's program here in Trinity, then you would probably be working on your dissertation with somebody like Frolov or like Andre or Manuela, which means that you have a supervisor who's had a good 15, 20 years of experience, and they're full-fledged professors who are well known in their fields. And so their recommendation would be extremely sort of attractive to the places that you're applying for a DPhil. Whereas if you're doing it with the postdoc, then they might not even know that postdoc. And so they might not even sort of look at the application, right? I'm sorry to be very blunt here, but it is genuinely what happens. So that might be one thing to think about, but yeah. So apart from that, yeah, the dissertation starts off around, like I said, 1.5 months or so. You sort of choose your supervisor, choose your topic. And usually what happens is the professors or the supervisors themselves sort of give out topics. They're like, okay, I'm willing to supervise for this particular topic. Or you sort of contact a professor who's a professor of the field that you're interested in, and can suggest your own topic. But if not, you could they obviously have their own topics that they suggest, and you can sort of choose to go in that direction as well. So there is that. Also, I guess one more thing I want to mention is that the professors and the postdocs there and stuff are extremely busy. So a lot of the work that you're going to do is going to have to be self-motivated, right? Because I think the situation in Trinity is a little better, because say if you had a doubt in like a particular module that you were doing, the professors here are sort of, you can just email them and be like, hey, listen, I have a doubt in this, you know, and they may be a little more accessible compared to like Oxford. So you get more help, you get better sort of supervision, you're able to like talk more and sort of research more about your topic. Whereas there, if you're doing the dissertation, there's usually like 2 month gap. So even before you start off the dissertation, they're going to be like, hey, listen, so we're going to meet once every 2 months and you're going to have to update me on what you're doing. And it's just that one meeting, or maybe squeeze in another meeting here and there, but that's that. And then you sort of completely left on your own to sort of go about the project, the dissertation itself. Whereas here, I'm guessing you're all in the process of doing your dissertations. Clearly you have a lot of help from the professors. You can go to them, you have sort of regular meetings, they're able to like sort of guide you if you're stuck and whatnot. And it's not that the people in Oxford are opposed to doing this, but like I said, they're just extremely busy, so you might not have that much contact with them, which means that you're going to have to be very sort of self-motivated. So yeah, that's one more thing to also think about. Apart from that, yeah, the modules themselves are great. The exams, like I said, there's like sort of 2 examination terms. There's one after Michaelmas and there's one after Trinity. You sort of can equally divide the modules that you're going to write exams for between those 2. After that, there's also going to be a few projects. For example, string theory 1, if you do take that module, you're not really examined on it. You're just going to have sort of a project that you have to write on a topic that the lecturer is going to give to you, and sort of write like a small review of that topic. So a few of the modules are examined in that way. And when it comes to the more sort of complicated modules, stuff like string theory 2, conformal field theory and stuff, you don't really have exams for them. You're going to have assignments, and you need to get a passing grade on these assignments, and that's that. If you did that, then you sort of get a tick mark for that particular module, for the more complicated modules, right? So yeah, that's just the structure of the exams and sort of what they entail. In terms of the difficulty of the exams, they're not extremely hard, but they are hard enough that not everyone is going to get grades like you would say probably in Trinity, And one of the reasons that they do this is, so if I go back to the fact that you have to send out your DPhil applications before you even sort of start your research and whatnot, right? So they're not completely ignorant about the sort of situation that you are in. And so when you're applying for a DPhil, say you choose to apply to Oxford, then given that you haven't started your dissertation, or you probably haven't spent as much time working on it, one of the things that they consider your application based on is the marks from the exams that you write for the Michaelmas term. So the exams of QFT, group theory, and GR are going to be extremely, extremely important, because if you do extremely well in those papers, then you still have a decent chance of probably getting a DPhil in Oxford. But again, it's very minute, right? And yeah, because they know that you haven't really worked on your dissertation. So for interviews and stuff, they sort of shortlist candidates who've done well in the exams that I just mentioned. So yeah, that is definitely one more thing to think about. But apart from that, I think I've roughly covered the module structure, the exams. And yeah, and stuff. So that's generally the thing. Maybe I could mention what I did for my dissertation. So I worked with a postdoc there, and I worked on, well, he was a postdoc, but he also was like a lecturer. So I guess it's a little better in terms of this whole thing that I was talking about, that it's not as easy to get access to a professor to be able to supervise your dissertation. So yeah, and that is important. Trust me, you'll realize this when you go in and sort of look at applications and whatnot, or maybe even talk to professors here. They'll tell you how important it is to sort of have a good researcher who is supervising your master's dissertation. But yeah, so I did mine in classification of supergravity solutions, admitting ADS factors. It's sort of got to do with this whole complex differential geometry aspect of things, where there's these things called G structures, which can then be used to classify supergravity solutions, essentially string theory solutions and stuff, which was really interesting. And yeah, I had like I said, so I did work with a sort of lecturer who wasn't maybe as busy as a professor, which meant that he was, to be fair, very sort of flexible in terms of when I could meet him. He was very helpful, and so yeah, honestly, I think I wouldn't have done as good a job if I had a professor supervising me, because yeah, he was able to give me sort of help me out a little more. So so yeah, that was sort of a brief review of my experience with the dissertation. And yeah, you usually have, once you start your dissertation, you have around like 8 months to work on it, and then you submit the dissertation. You don't have a viva on it, so you just submit it, and then they sort of examine it and give you a grade out of 100, and that's that. So yeah, that's that. Apart from that, yeah, I guess it comes down to the overall experience of the program there. It's really good. The city itself is a very beautiful city, and you sort of get to experience a lot of the traditions and stuff that's particular to Oxford. Stuff like college balls, formals, matriculation, and whatnot is really fun. I don't want to spoil it for any of you, but yeah, no. I think my time there was one of the best sort of 9 months of my life, because yeah, it's just a beautiful place, and if you find like a good group of friends, it is really fun to sort of experience these traditions of the college with that group, and yeah, it can be a great experience. So yeah, definitely be excited about that. And yeah, I guess there's nothing else to say, but yeah, like I said, I've given my email ID out. If there's any particular questions about the modules themselves or any further clarifications that you need, please feel free to shoot me an email, and we can chat. But yeah, I guess all that's left to say is good luck with your dissertations, your final year, and good luck with your applications as well. Thanks.